Welcome to the Huntron Workstation 4.3 update video. There were two new features added with this particular version of Workstation. The first is the Huntron Workstation Archive feature. This feature will allow you to remove non-reference scans from the active database. So if we switch to our Component Scans tab, you'll see we have a fair number of scans here and there that are non-reference. So if we could remove those from the database, this database will operate much quicker. So what we would do is go ahead and go to the Edit menu and select Archive Board Non-Reference Scans. You see that right here. So when we select that, it's letting us know that it's a good idea to back up this test before we do it. I'll go ahead and click Yes to move forward. And it takes a minute, but it'll remove the non-reference scans from the test database, leaving behind only just the reference scans that we have set for the database. Okay, so you see there. All right. Now to restore archived non-reference scans to the database, you can go to the Edit menu and select Unarchive Delete Board Non-Reference Scans. And we can either unarchive them, or we can actually delete the scans if we no longer need them. So you can use the Shift and Control keys to select individuals or groups. I will go ahead and select them all, and then click the Unarchive button. Again, it's letting us know that it's going to restore these back to the database. Click Yes. Again, it takes a minute to do this. When we see these go away, we can click the Close button, and we'll now see those scans restored back to this database. Okay, so that's how that feature works. Again, this is important to help keep the database small and keep it functioning and much quicker. The other feature in this version is the Huntron Workstation CAD Importer. With this version, we included a new importer that includes everything in one window versus having a step-by-step process. And this started with the version 4.3.6361. So the first thing to do is go ahead and select Import Unisoft XML from the File menu. And here is the new CAD Importer window. You see everything's all included in one window versus having multiple steps. So the first thing we need to do is to go ahead and select the XML file created from the Unisoft software. There is the XML file. We'll select that and then click Open. That'll now be shown in the field there. The other thing we have to do is find the Unisoft F2B file. So there's the F2B file right there. We'll click Open, and now that's there. We'll next click Pre-Process. It'll go through and check the syntax of the XML file, make sure everything is good there. All right, looks good. Now we need to configure the import options. You have the options to select either component or net-based sequences. I'm only going to do the top side of my circuit board, so I'm going to select a component top sequence using the middle slot of my prober. I will also add a net top sequence. So again, this will be probing on just the top side of the circuit board. All right. You also have options for access DH. So if I select two-headed prober, I can select whether I use a common lead, how I treat 2 and 3 pin devices, how those are probed. These are all available in this import. I'm dealing with a single head here, so I'm going to deselect the two-headed prober. You have the option to exclude components from the component import. So here's the list for that. You can go ahead and select components you want to exclude. I have a BGA device on my circuit board called U69, and I don't want to import that as a component since I can't probe it anyhow. So we'll select it, click Add Selected. You see it listed there, and we'll close. So this component will no longer be imported into the component sequence. All right, for the net options, you have the ability to include component pins and vias. You can also have the ability to limit the number of nodes or pins that are imported. I'm going to limit that to 50. There's no need to go any higher than that. You can set the order and preferred side. I will go with pin and via setup, so it'll select a pin versus a via first when it's trying to decide on what to probe. The pins on my components are much more accessible than the vias. You can also choose to order the net nodes by reference designator. So for example, if I want the program to choose IC pins first, I can select U and add that to my list. And then maybe I want to select capacitors pins next, so I'll add that to my list. And then that's how you would do that. I'm not actually going to do that, but that's how it's done. Another nice feature is to be able to include the nets of selected components only within the net sequence. So for example, I will select my component U69, the BGA device, and add that to my list. So that way, only the nets that connect to U69 will be included in the net sequence. So once I click close, then that'll be the only nets included. You can also choose to exclude nets from the import. There's no need for me to probe the ground net, which goes everywhere on the board, so I'm going to find that net on my list here. Okay, there it is. Select that. Add that to my list. Okay, there's the ground net, and then close that. So the ground net will not be included in my import. All right. So once you go through and you have all your import options set, you can click the process button. This may take a minute or two depending on the size of the database and the size of your board, how many components and nets you have on your circuit board. But now it's creating the net sequence. You can see the nets being added to the database there. And then eventually it'll switch to adding the component nets and pins to my component import. So there's now the component import. This is just about done. So there it's complete. So once that process is complete, you can go ahead and click the close button. And we'll now return back to the workstation windows. You see we have two new sequences, a component topside sequence and a net topside sequence. Here's the net sequence. Remember we told the software to not include the ground net, so if we go and look for where that should be, this is alphanumeric sort, you can see it should be right here. It is not there, so it was excluded. If we go to the topside component sequence, remember we told it not to include U69, so we'll scroll down and find out where U69 should be. You see it's no longer there. So that was good. So those are the two new features in the Workstation 4.3 software. We appreciate you watching, and please view other videos on the Huntron YouTube channel. Thank you.